Hey there, I'm Mark Hamrock with Hamrock Music. In this series of lessons, we're going to look at writing and producing a basic rock pop song. I'm going to show you how to get from this to this. So let's get started. I'm really excited about this lesson series. I'm going to be writing a basic rock pop song and document the whole creative process step by step, from writing to arranging, recording, mixing, mastering, and you're going to be riding shotgun for the whole trip. So please like and subscribe below to see more similar videos. So because I've been writing songs and playing music for, let's just say, a long time, I typically write songs in a much less structured and methodical way than I'm going to show you in this lesson. For me, I have an innate vision of where I can hear a chord progression going or what instrumentation would sound good, etc., which comes from years of experience. The only way you can develop that creative sense of vision is by writing a lot. Now, I'm going to assume you have a very basic understanding of music theory, which in my opinion is pretty essential for being able to write songs. If you don't know music theory at all, you can check out my theory course linked down below, which is geared for songwriting and composing on the guitar or keyboard. Anybody can look up chord generators to puke out the same tired chord progression that's been used a million times and then write a millennial whooping melody over a crappy predictable dance beat with cliché lyrics. That's not what I'm here for, though. I'm here to teach you the art of creative and unique songwriting. Everybody is unique and has their own view of the world, which can be channeled into songwriting. So first of all, what really defines a song? I talked about this in depth in my songwriting basics video. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out, linked below. As a quick recap though, the elements that make up a song are the music, usually a chord progression or a riff or both. The melody, the sequence of notes and rhythm that the singer sings. The lyrics, the words the singer sings. The rhythm, which is more malleable and can be changed. Although you can start with any of them, in this lesson I'm going to start with the music, as that is what I typically do because it comes the most natural to me and I tend to think more harmonically and rhythmically. From there, I'm going to write a melody to the music and then lyrics. I'm going to keep this first song pretty simple and use the basic intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus song structure. So we won't be including any pre-choruses, but I might add an interlude, tag, or outro. I'm going to leave it open as I like to structure and arrange songs as they develop. Since this is Songwriting 101, what better key to start with than C major? C major is the only major key that has no sharps or flats in it. It's all the white keys on the piano, which will make it easy. So what are the chords in the key of C major? There's 7 of them, and they're numbered based on the notes in the major scale. So they are 1, C major, 2, D minor, 3, E minor, 4, F major, 5, G major, 6, A minor, 7, B diminished. What I have noticed is that a lot of well-written popular songs will stay in the key except for 1 or maybe 2 chords that are outside of the key. I've seen this in numerous examples of the greatest songwriter songs. By doing this, they get a more interesting sound without going too far out and sounding jarring to the listener. There are many ways to modulate outside of the key, but I'm going to use a couple of the most commonly used chords outside of the key. I go in depth on these in my theory course, but let's jump right into them. The 3 major chord. In the key of C major, this would be an E major chord. The 4 minor chord. This would be F minor in the key of C major. And as I explained in my theory course, this is typically used after the standard 4 major chord, and it tends to want to resolve back to the 1 chord. The flat 7 major chord. This would be a B flat major chord in the key of C. So now we have 10 chords we can use, but we're going to drop the standard 7 diminished chord because it's rarely used in pop music. So that leaves us with 9 chords. 1, C major, the 2 chord, D minor, 3, E minor, 3 major, E major, 4, F major, 4 minor, F minor, 5, G major, 6, A minor, and the flat 7, B flat major chord. That's a good amount of chords to use, and we can play the majority of these as open chords on the guitar. So what section of the song do you start with when writing a song? Typically what I do is sit down and I start tinkering around until divine inspiration hits me over the head and I find the chord progression or riff that sounds interesting to me. At that point, I'll think of what section of the song it sounds like to me, whether an intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, outro, etc. Now, this is very subjective, and what might sound like a verse to me sounds like a chorus to somebody else. The more you write, though, the better you get at determining this. Okay, so now that we have our chords we can use, we know the different sections of a song, we know the basic structure we're going to use, and we're armed with inspiration, let's get started. Like I said, I usually start plunking around and I'll find something that I like, but we're going to do it a little more systematically in this lesson. In fact, I'm just going to jump in and start with a chord progression for a verse. Now for me, I can usually play a chord or a few notes and then I hear where I want it to go. And because of my extensive training and experience, I can play what I'm hearing in my head. But you're probably not quite at that point yet, so I'm going to approach it a little more logically. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with a very common chord progression that's used in countless songs. The 1-5-6-4 progression. But I'm going to add a twist because we don't want to sound like everyone else. Remember, we want to be unique as songwriters. Let's start by taking the 1-5-6-4 progression in the key of C. That would be C major, G major, A minor, F major. But let's replace one of the chords. How about the last one, F major, with the 3 chord, which is E minor. So that'll sound like 1 C major, 5 G major, 6 A minor, and 3 E minor. So from there, I'm hearing 4, 1, 5, which is actually a Green Day song, so we don't want to do that. But let's keep it to 4 chords. And how about using one of our wild cards there, and let's try E major instead of E minor to change it up. So that'll be 1 C major, 5 G major, 6 A minor, and then 3 E major. Then I'll go back to 1 C. I like that. It's interesting. It doesn't immediately sound like another song I've heard, although I'm sure it's been used in a song somewhere out there. There's only so many possibilities. And it sounds pretty good going back to the 1 chord. Now, one thing I like to do right off the bat is figure out what type of tempo, time signature, and rhythm or strum pattern I want to use. I'm going to keep it simple and we'll use 4/4 time, 4 beats per measure, and use 1 chord per measure as a harmonic rhythm of the verse. So that would look like this in chord chart form. Let's use a basic strum pattern, say something like this. Down, down, up, down, up. It's a very typical strum pattern around 60-70 beats per minute, which puts us closer to ballad territory. Slower tempos songs are generally harder to make interesting and keep the listener engaged, but I think it'll be a good challenge. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that none of this should be set in stone, and at any point you should be open to changing any aspect of the song if it better suits the song. So we have the basic chord progression for our verse. Let's move on to the chorus. Now, what you never want to do is create separate sections and then just mash them together. The verse needs to flow into the chorus. So what you can do is use the process of elimination and go through each of the possible chords to use as the first chord in the chorus. I can already hear where I want it to go, so I'm going to save us some time and go right to the F major 4 chord, so that'll sound like this. So I'm going to make the chorus an 8-bar section. It's always easier to keep the number of measures in a section even so it sounds more balanced. If we think ahead to the lyrics, I'm going to use 1 lyrical phrase or line for each 2-measure section of the chorus, so we'll have 4 lyrical lines to make up the chorus. Now, one thing you usually want to do is to create more intensity in the chorus as well. There are a few different ways to achieve this that we're going to talk about, but one of them is to speed up the harmonic rhythm. So instead of using 1 chord per measure, let's use 2 chords per measure. So again, I'm going to use the process of elimination to try different chords out. I'll start from the end of the verse going into the chorus to hear it in context. I like that, F, G, C, A minor. So now I have my first 2-bar progression of the chorus, which will likely coincide with our first melodic phrase of the chorus. Now this can go a million different ways, but I'm going to keep it easy and explain a simplified version of basic chord progression structure relating to melodic phrasing. I have other videos that dive into this a little deeper. Remember, the chorus is supposed to be the main hook of our song, so it needs to be catchy and stick in your head to be a successful chorus. The main thing that makes a melody or a musical passage catchy is repetition. I'm going to call our first 2-bar progression the A section. If we have 4 2-bar sections, there are some common forms that tend to work pretty well, including AABA, AABB, ABAC, as well as others. As you can see, all of these repeat the A section. I'm going to use ABAC because this will give me an opportunity to use one of our other common chords outside the key, the 4 minor chord. I'm going to use the 4 major to 4 minor progression in the C section or last 2 bars of the chorus. And I'm going to slow down the harmonic progression to 1 chord per measure to lead back to the verse. Also, if you recall, the 4 minor resolves nicely back to the C chord, the 1 chord, which is the first chord of our verse. So that works out perfectly. Remember, you always want to think of your exit plan, going from one section of the song to another. So we have 3/4 of our chorus written, we just need to come up with our B section. What typically works well for an alternating section is to start off the same way and then make the chords towards the end different. In fact, I'll keep the first 3 chords the same and just change the last one. So, process of elimination. Let's use our E major chord again. That sounds good to me. So always listen back through the whole progression to hear everything in context. Let me play through the verse once, into the chorus, and back into the beginning of the verse again. Starting to sound like a song. Each section works and sounds interesting, and the sections flow into each other well. So let's go on to the bridge. One trick that works well is to start the bridge with a chord that you haven't used yet in the song. So far we haven't used D minor, E minor, or B flat. So again, I'm going to trial these from the end of the chorus and see which sounds the best. Yeah, I definitely like E minor the best. Let's also make the bridge another 8-bar section. I'm going to slow the harmonic rhythm in the beginning to 1 chord per 2 measures for the first 6 bars, and then speed up to 1 chord per measure in the last 2 measures to lead back into the chorus. Now, as a side note, you don't have to change the harmonic rhythm at all through the song. You could use 1 chord per measure through the whole thing. A lot of popular songs actually do this. I'm changing it to show you how increasing or decreasing the harmonic rhythm affects the feel of the song. Okay, so back to the bridge. So we have 4 more chords we need to come up with. Again, I'm going to figure out the ending of the bridge first to make sure it leads back to the chorus, and then come up with the chords in between. It's a lot easier getting somewhere if you know your destination. All right, I like that. So E minor for 2 bars, C major for 2 bars, E minor for 2, and then A minor, G, which I think leads pretty nicely back to the chorus, F major. So now I'll play the verse once, to the chorus, through the bridge, and back to the chorus to hear all of our transitions. Feel free to skip ahead to the next lesson listed at this point if you want. I'm going to get into arranging and recording a scratch track there. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to see more.